Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are really tearing up the traditional relationship playbook,
Rare.
specifically that part that says, structure has to come before form.
Right, the A, then B, then C approach.
Exactly. We're jumping into this fascinating idea that sometimes the bond, the durable part, it settles first. And the rules are like this beautiful customized roof you add on much, much later.
That's a great way to put it. Our source material today is all about these relationships that they defy that typical story, meet, define, commit.
In that order.
In that order. Instead, it's focusing on what's been called customized monogamy and this, I think, really critical concept of after-the-fact design.
Okay, let's unpack that after-the-fact design. So we're looking at bonds that sort of found their own quiet durability organically. So the commitment wasn't this big declaration. It was just discovered. And the structure, the agreements that only came after the shape of the thing was already known.
Yes. The source actually calls it a retrofitted structure.
Retrofitted. I like that. So the mission for this deep dive is really to understand this powerful and kind of surprising truth, right? That form can precede structure.
It can. And to explore the ethics of it. Because these agreements, they aren't meant to fix problems or, clarify who's who. They're defined as functioning as fidelity as care.
Fidelity as care. That really reframes things, doesn't it? It suggests that rules and boundaries can exist not as, like, definitions of ownership or control.
Right. Not as a fence.
But purely as a maintenance protocol for something that's already working.
That's it. You're not trying to rescue anything. You're just protecting its internal coherence.
So the core question we're trying to get at for you is this. How can a relationship just arrive, as the source puts it, already habitable? And what does that mean for how we think about commitment?
We have to step away from this idea that seriousness needs urgency or, a loud formal beginning.
It really pushes back against that cultural script that says if you don't DPR define the relationship on date 3, it must be, temporary or not serious.
Yeah, this source says the exact opposite. Sometimes the most serious bonds are the quietest ones. They exist. And then one day you wake up and realize you're already living inside them.
Okay, so let's jump into that first phase, the organic shape, arriving already habitable. We're told that some relationships, they just do not announce themselves as beginnings. There's no cinematic moment.
Right, no big bang. So if they don't arrive with urgency, how do they arrive? And the source gives this, I think, a beautiful description. It says they arrive already habitable.
Already habitable.
Not fragile, not provisional, already able to be lived inside.
That image is so powerful. It's less like you're building a house from the ground up and more like you find this perfect old farmhouse that's already got good bones. You just need to move your stuff in.
Precisely. It implies this intrinsic self-sustaining stability. It's not something you have to constantly hold together with, like anxiety and effort. It's already solid.
And that stability, that must change the whole nature of its durability.
It does. The source says this kind of bond has a quiet durability. It doesn't need to be tested.
Oh, that's huge.
It doesn't need, and I'm quoting here, rehearsal or escalation to prove its seriousness.
Which is the total opposite of what we see in movies, right? The big fights, the dramatic tests of loyalty, the intense honeymoon phase that's designed to burn out.
Exactly. This quiet durability feels like it skipped all that volatility and went straight to the integration part.
The durability is proven by what? Just time?
Just the smooth accumulation of time. There's no strain. It's not work to keep it going. It just becomes ordinary in the best way.
That sounds almost physical, instinctive.
It is. The source really leans into that, into the intimacy of the body.
Yeah,
it says the body learns the other as part of its daily, weather familiar, unsurprising, steady.
Daily weather. Wow.
It's not an intellectual thing. It's physiological. Your nervous system literally comes to rely on their presence, like it relies on the air temperature.
So your body, your most basic guide, doesn't treat them as this exciting new variable or some high-stakes game.
No.
It treats them as an essential, predictable part of the ecosystem. The sun comes up, the weather is familiar, and they are there.
It's an intimacy built on comfort. You don't get those wild spikes of emotion. You just get this high, steady plateau of trust.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here.
Yeah.
Because that sounds so smooth. And in a culture that, values friction as proof that something is worth it, how is this different from just inertia?
A valid question.
Two people just being comfortable or maybe a little avoidant about actually making a formal commitment.
That's the key distinction, and it brings us to our next section, texture and reliability. The difference is the active quality of the stability. The organizing principle here is not becoming.
Not becoming, meaning?
It's not defined by movement toward a goal. Marriage, a house, the next milestone. It's defined by already holding a form.
Ah, so it's not a caterpillar waiting to become a butterfly.
Yes.
It's already a tree, and maybe it grows new leaves, but its fundamental shape is there.
Perfect analogy. And so if you look at what develops, the source says it's not intensity, that flare of newness, it's texture.
Texture.
And instead of urgency, that frantic, what are we feeling, what develops is reliability.
Texture over intensity. Reliability over urgency. I mean, that's a huge insight. We confuse urgency and intensity with passion or seriousness all the time.
We do, but they might actually signal instability. If you constantly need intensity, maybe you're just constantly testing the bond to see if it's still there.
So what is texture then in this context?
It's the accumulated detail, the private jokes, knowing how they take their coffee without asking, the effortless dance you do in a small kitchen. It's depth, and that's the opposite of the superficial high of intensity.
And that reliable texture is what allows for something the source calls unattended intimacy. This idea kind of blew my mind.
It's radical, isn't it? Intimacy that does not flicker when left unattended.
I mean, think about the constant work we associate with modern relationships. The check-ins, the maintenance, the emotional labor to prove the bond is still alive.
Unattended intimacy means the bond is so inherently strong, you can actually turn your energy outward, to your job, to your own life. You know the connection isn't dependent on constant validation.
It's not fragile. It holds its shape even when you're not actively pouring energy into it.
And that goes back to your question about inertia. Inertia is passive. It's just staying put. This is active trust. It's a deep knowing that the form is sound.
So it completely challenges that idea that a serious relationship has to be on a perpetual climb towards some future state.
The commitment is just acknowledging the form that's already there. It's not waiting to be fixed or clarified. It already knows its own terms.
Which brings us to, I think, the most interesting part. If the relationship is this settled, if it's so durable, why customize a structure later? Why add rules at all?
Right. If it's already habitable, why start retrofitting?
Exactly.
And that is the absolute core of after-the-fact design. The premise is clear. The relationship is not waiting to be fixed. The shape is known.
There's no problem to solve.
None. The source is emphatic. What exists already knows its own shape. It says nothing here is being rescued from ambiguity or saved from collapse.
So the structure, it can't be a rescue mission. We have to completely redefine what things like, customized monogamy or even marriage are for in this specific context.
We have to. The structure isn't to answer what are we. The structure is designed for protection. And to get this, we have to look at the specific language the source uses.
Okay, yeah, let's slow down here because this is where it gets a little academic. Lay it out for us.
Certainly. The source refers to the two people as Gestalt minds.
Gestalt minds.
A gestalt is a whole that's seen as more than the sum of its parts. So in this context, it means the two individuals have integrated so completely.
Through that quiet durability and texture we talked about.
Yes. They now operate like a single coherent system. A change in one part instantly affects the whole. They've become a unit, a complex harmony.
Okay, a system. I get that.
And the purpose of the retrofitting, the agreements, is very specific. They're designed to protect coherence for Gestalt minds without fixing what was never broken.
Ah, okay, that explains everything. The structure isn't about controlling the individuals. It's about maintaining the integrity of the system they've built.
That's it. It shifts the entire focus of relationship rules from control to preservation to care.
So traditional agreements are often like defensive walls to keep threats out or people in.
Right. But these retrofitted structures, they're more like a protective shell to make sure that the quiet durability isn't eroded by, outside pressures or just simple miscommunication.
Which brings us right back to that beautiful concept from the beginning, fidelity as care. The structure isn't a fence. It's an agreement to maintain the system itself. It's an ethical promise to the relationship's existing form.
It's the ultimate maintenance plan for a system that's already running perfectly. You're not looking at a blueprint for a house you want to build. You're just making sure the wiring and the roof on the perfect house you already live in stay sound.
And that feels so much more ethical because it respects the organic shape the relationship took on its own. It's not trying to force that unique shape into a pre-made box.
It is the ultimate acknowledgement that the form dictates the function. So the rules have to serve the form, not the other way around.
That was a tremendous dive. So, to recap for everyone, We started by looking at the difference between relationships built on becoming versus those that just arrive, already holding a form.
Arriving already habitable. And we stressed that their durability is quiet, it's built on reliability and texture, not all that intensity and urgency we're told to look for.
And I think most importantly, we learned that this idea of after-the-fact design, this customized structure, it functions as pure protection, as fidelity as care.
It's designed just to maintain the coherence of those organically formed Gestalt minds, not to fix or clarify them.
It's about preserving something powerful that's already there.
It is. And this leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you to consider. If a relationship already has this quiet durability, if it already knows its own organic shape, does the act of formalizing rules later risk trapping that shape? Does it introduce a rigidity it never needed and maybe limit its future growth?
Or the other side of that coin.
Or, conversely, does that intentional act of formalizing it offer the highest form of care? Does it shield that quiet, beautiful thing from all the chaos of the outside world? Something to mull over as you think about the silent, enduring shapes of the bonds in your own life.